This is Westphalen by night. Westphalen is a city that straddles the Pamlico, better known locally as the Tar, like a drunkard trying to maintain its upright position. Working against the equilibrium of the city are the vast quantity of kindred who stalk the night. Adding to its rampant crime is disappearing persons and its seedy underbelly, which the locals take great pride in. Westphalen is a city that does. What it does is no one's business. After all, no one hangs out their laundry for the neighbors to see. But in this particular city, in this particular place, in the Duncern County region of North Carolina, what happens in the dark, well, if you're lucky, stays there. And so we'll tell a vampire tale with the kindred of Westphalen.
But enough of the underpinnings and the mechanics. Evergreen, you say?
Yes, sir.
So on a warm-ish winter evening, right before the founding, the actual beginning of spring, because March 20th is the official first day of spring. So it is nearly upon us. The weather has changed. It is nearly the muddy season for those who have grown up in South Carolina. It is North Carolina. It is the season where everything that was once frozen begins to thaw out, and you see the first buds that will reach full bloom during spring, provided there's no further cold front. It is a time of introspection and renewal. And in this time, we find CJ waiting on associates, friends, allies. And it's funny that he's waiting on friends and allies and biding their time with administering to the houses of the dead, clearing away overgrown roots and flowers left upon flowers, as well as the detritus of the season, the fallen limbs, the blown dust snowed over, the rains beginning to wash some of the grit and grime away, allowing algae to grow and moss to beginning to take root in the stone. And as they clean, which is a strange dichotomy considering they themselves are not what most people would assign that title, clean. Even their voluptuously thin form isn't something that most people would ascribe a cleanliness to. The festering wounds of their skin, the overgrown death, all of that is apparent. And in the glooming darkness of the cemetery, because there are no street lamps nearby, there aren't any pillars of light to illuminate the darkness. Surprisingly, you have seemed to have taken my advice. Has your master brought you to heal?
I did not. I was not aware that this was a place you frequented.
And why would that not be? Death is all that we are, so it is quite natural for us to come here and window shop in places that we may never see. Why is this a place you frequent?
Well, I used to do this when I was alive often. It would be day when I would do it, but it just feels right. Something to do when my mind's going different ways.
And where is your mind going?
I've thought of something out of character for myself.
Were you thinking of happiness?
I do see you have a wonderful sense of humor.
Perhaps.
You say you're able to heal me.
No. I did not say heal. You should not ascribe your hope toward that ideal. I have practiced and spent the early hours of the evening verifying my ability. I have the ability to, well, present you as you perhaps would prefer to be presented to the world at large, to no longer be the odoriferous, gangly sight that you are. And I'm sure you still have more than a few of would-be suitors, if not for the offense you offer with your presence.
At this mention of the smell, I out of habit pull out a cigarette and start to try to light it.
What are you doing? You do realize that I cannot die from cancer, but it does not make the scent of burning weed any better for me. Terrible plan.
I shrug and I stomp. I put it out on my wet knee.
You really have no care for yourself, do you? Why is this?
I mean, there's an effort, plastic on the knees.
You know the saying, it is a sad dog that does not wag its own tail. It's very true in this particular case. You have a lovely female form, and your mind, your soul of souls, is not this female form. You are damaged, as we all are in our own way. I find it interesting, the elasticity of the very watered blood that you possess. I find your state of death curious, and I have studied it somewhat. I'm aware that what I can do might be traumatic, because what I can do changes how you might be perceived, but none of that will be as effective as you changing how you perceive yourself.
There's a complete look of contemplation on my face. My brow furrows, crunches. There's a lot of weight to what you're saying. I should probably take some time to evaluate it.
Well, we do have forever, at least the potential of it. Does not mean that this offer does not have an expiration date. I'm curious how we might witness you destroying yourself, which will very much more than likely be the statistical outcome of assisting and healing your form. In the doing, I am sure that you will find some way to damage yourself. I am sure, as I am of very few things outside of combat, that you will find a way to destroy, to mar yourself. The Nosferatu, at least typically, stereotypically, take pride in their giving of offense. You don't even embrace this, yet that is your self-actualization, isn't it? This form is not who you really are, is it?
I was a man.
We all have our problems. But I found your old videos. This is amazing what you can find with Google. I found the manhunt still on for you. You are America's 231st most wanted man.
I mean, if you see the video where I attempted to fake my death, you could admit there was an effort.
Oh, yes, the effort was there, and luckily for you, they believe that you are in fact potentially dead. However, with there being no body, the investigation, while very cold, is still an investigation.
I'm just nodding.
So, my friend, your master, Volkov, did a great service to himself and to me by not pursuing his avocation as warlord, as you are his helpmate, and for some strange reason, the deputy baron has assigned you the duties and responsibilities of being his sweeper. You're not representing yourself. You are, in fact, representing him. While you may gain acclaim for yourself in your representation of Reeve Volkov, you are, in fact, until you do, representing him.
I think I get what you're saying. To fulfill my role, I have to carry myself with more respect.
If you don't respect yourself, why should anyone else?
I was very anxious about the idea of someone twisting and manipulating my flesh.
You should be.
I've literally been filleted open and my fat removed by Mason once, but that could heal. My body is, in a way, my only true possession still.
Why don't you change that?
Build a hoard to sit on?
No. If you feel that this whorehouse that is your body, this vile cast-off thing, is your only possession, and you take no steps to actually maintain it, you are in fact a slumlord. If you take no efforts to put on a fresh coat of paint, to make sure that the foundation is sound and able to bear weight, if you take no attempts to trim the bushes and make sure that the structure is as appealing as possible, what does that make you?
Nothing. But I have to fulfill a role, you're right. If you truly think you can not aid, but at least make a well-meaning attempt at bettering my current, I just start my body condition, nothing is without a drawback. There's always an opportunity cost.
Of course, there is always a cost. The question is, are you capable, confident, and secure enough in yourself that you are willing to pay that price? It's not. Opportunity is always there. It is always knocking and ringing the doorbell and prying and looking through the window. We, as individuals, as beings, those of us no longer living and those of us that are cowards, because we cannot afford our idea of failure. You try something, you fail. You try again and you fail better. The cost of failure is nothing. The cost of never trying is beyond every idea of what wealth could be. It is lose everything 100% of the time. Every time you are too afraid of failure to even try.
I will put my faith in you.
But I won't go that far. I'm a very good torturer. I know the very structures of the body, and I have the ability to ensure their lack of working, because I understand how they should work. Faith is a big step. How about simply you have an idea? You have a trust that no matter what happens, you will reach the other side in a better position, mentally or physically, or hopefully both.
All right. I do have a question. Do we kindred still pass out from pain? I've endured a lot of pain, but the way you describe this, are we able to pass out from pain?
Oh no, my friend. We kindred don't have that ability. Sleep is not a thing that is given to us, save torpor. And even then, it is not sleep in any definition of the word. It is existing in a perpetual state of absence, while being bombarded with all of the impetus and stimulus that we crave. In torpor, my friend, you can see. Hopefully, those who stake you are kind enough to close your eyes. In torpor, you can hear. Hopefully, those who stake you are kind enough to provide you with noise dampening headphones. In torpor, you can smell. You know when blood is near. You know when everything you crave is there to be touched and you cannot touch it. Your skin still feels the ebb and flow of air. Your sense of self never vacates, but you are there, stuck, floating, unable to affect the world that is affecting you.
Nothing but yourself and your thoughts.
If you should be so lucky. But usually it is only you and the beast. And with that, she removes her phone, looks at the now illuminated screen. If you'll give me a moment. And she turns away from you and begins texting. And with that, I'll be right back.
All right.
Sorry about that. My toddler is having the familial curse of insomnia.
Oh, I feel you. My niece doesn't go to sleep unless she turns off her the fan in her room like 3 times. So
Yeah, it's a familial curse on both sides, unfortunately. And the kids suffer with it at various stages. So, but as Dawn texts and click-clacks away, her nails sounding like metal on metal with the glass screen of her cell phone, she finally ceases, sighs, and squares her shoulders, slipping her phone back away and then turning more directly towards you. Well, my friend, there are many things afoot this evening. If tonight is not exactly the night you take your leap, then I understand. But again, as I stated, there is an expiration date.
something I want to say. I'm here because I intend to meet with Mason, Tyler, and Aaron. I have a radical idea I wanted to pitch to them before coming to a warlord. I wouldn't mind doing this tonight, since I have the opportunity to pitch it directly to you now, because my fear was missing the opportunity to meet them.
Well, you should meet them if they matter to you. But I will provide you with an address. If you don't arrive within the next 2 nights, then I will know that you've made your choice. If you, however, arrive within the next 2 nights, I will know that you have made your choice. This will give you an opportunity to speak with your friends, your associates, your master, and perhaps say goodbye as you are. So when you make your decision, if you make your decision one way or the other, the opportunity is there. And after 2 nights, the opportunity will no longer be there. We will move forward as we are. No onus on you, save your own recriminations. And my curiosity will find other outlets. Does this sound fair to you?
Yes, it does.
Excellent. Well, CJ, Chadwick, my friend, I will leave you to contemplate your future and how you choose to represent yourself and the world around you.
Before we part ways, when I told Deputy Baron my real name, I forgot to mention, or I guess request, that it stays between us.
Well, then it's very good for you that I am naturally circumspect, and we have the opportunity of speaking to each other instead of in front of a gathered audience. There are no other kindred here. Correct.
I've had, I forgot to mention this at the start, but I've had Oblivion Sight active this whole time. Of course I do. I guess it would be hard to see kindred through the seas of dead people, though.
Well, it's not just the dead people that you would be seeing. Oblivion Sight, unlike Since the Unseen, is not merely those souls who have not vacated the skin lands. It is not just seeing the souls, the spirits, the residue of living entities and their impulses. Oblivion Sight, your eyes cease to be your eyes. They are literally windows into the shadow realm. It looks very much as if your eyes have cataracted to the point where they are nearly solid in their dead state. The color having faded, everything looking grayed or worse. And while that is what others would see looking into your eyes and looking into the windows to your soul, what you would see is the Shadowlands themselves. All of the very depths of the dead, the very essence of all things unliving, those things that had at one point been alive, and those things that never were alive, those things that have been dead longer than the combined knowledge and recollection of any nation still standing. That is what Oblivion provides you the opportunity to see. You are seeing into the lands of the dead, not just those who refuse to release their hold on this side of the veil. So the cemetery that you are in is no simple cemetery. They're not just simple headstones and crucifixes sticking out of the ground. They're not simple name placards in the mud. They are towers and mansions and cottages and
hovels of all shapes, size, and depth. Because the truth of the matter is, the dead gain their strength and their power and their essence from the living. So those who have been imbued with the faith and love of those still speaking their name, they have grand vistas to explore. And those who are otherwise unloved or forgotten, they can sink so low as to be stones beneath your feet. They pave the roadways in the land of the dead. They form bricks in the walls of other unliving things, mansions and palatial estates. They are the clothing that some dead wear, the shambling shroud. The lands of the dead are no less predatory than the lands of the living, though that predation doesn't stop with simply divesting someone of their sense of self. It doesn't stop with browbeating someone into a traumatic state. It doesn't stop when you drain another person of all that they have. No, the predations continue, and the states of despair stretch on into infinity. And that is what Chadwick has been witnessing and privy to as he's spoken with the dawn, as he has shared this moment of delving into some of his more easily accessible sensitive parts, some of his own realizations as to what has held him firm in this state of disrepair. He has been experiencing that mentally and seeing that play out as the souls of the departed and the souls that have never been glom around, some sniffing and crawling around dawn, because dawn carries with them the very essence of death, the sweet perfume of a being who willingly and wantonly has taken life for pleasure and profit.
I probably glanced down a few times at Dawn's feet, where the wraiths are, or the spirits are, crawling around and sniffing at her. But I'm not trying to speak about it. I'm not trying to call attention to it, but I am making occasional glances there. That might not be subtle.
No, there's no subtlety there, but it's not the first time where Dawn has been privy to someone who may have done their research, someone who may have reached out to others who are able to do even more research. When you are a purveyor of death, of some claim, an understanding as to how others might fear you is inevitable. So she's responding like someone who is purposefully ignoring all of those strange looks near and around her, towards her feet and otherwise. Because, in truth, there is some really engaging, interesting, and titillating ideas about being feared. It is its own aphrodisiac of sorts, knowing that you have power over someone and they recognize you have power over them without you ever having to say a word. And after a while, after a few decades of plying such a trade, it's a scent, it is a taste that you come to enjoy, even if it is oftentimes overserved.
Have a good night, Dawn. Warlord.
I will do my best. You remember, while the evening is still upon us, you have 2 nights. Nothing more. I hope you make the best decision. I will leave you to your dead. Good night, Chadwick. And she slinks back, and you hear her footfalls for about 2.5, 3 seconds, and then nothing. Another specter and shadow amongst the tombstone. Another shade in the land of the dead, though this one carrying physical weight. And you are once more alone, cleaning and tending to the dearly departed and the ancient gone. The subject matter that you discussed, that being you, is a weighty one. And yes, there is a pun intended considering Chadwick's former state. It doesn't take away from the fact that even here, the predators know underneath it all, Chadwick has been the world's victim. His bravery and his willingness to boldly go into the dark has left the scent of prey about him. His willingness to sacrifice himself has marked him as one of those destined to be forever tormented. And part of him knows that that's fine. He is okay with being underestimated. He is okay with being undervalued. He is okay with being the lone voice in the wilderness crying out for vengeance and justice for those who have not received it. But now the question stands. Is he okay with being a lodestone around Volkov's neck? Is he okay with being the chink in his associate's armor? Is he okay with being the kill shot for his friends? Because it very much is a dog-eat-dog world. It very much is a world in which true strength is being proof against others' violence, whether it verbal, social, emotional, or often physical. And right in this moment, the truth of the matter is, CJ is low-hanging fruit. CJ is the chink in CJ's armor. His past intrepid investigations, well, boldly going into the dark is not the same when you have nothing to lose. Boldly going into the dark when you have nothing to gain. Boldly going into the dark when underneath it all, there is no small thin thread of the willingness to be swallowed into the dark, to be unseen, unnoticed, and unfortunately, as many of the souls about him, as many of the specters and spirits that exist just there outside of his ability to touch and grasp, being unnoticed, there's a weight that needs to be resolved. Either he will push it off of himself and lift it away so that he has the freedom to gain, or he will allow it to drag him further down into the blissful oblivion of never being worthy of noticed.
I'm scrubbing away, contemplating my place in this. I need to prove that I can be strong. I don't mind being underestimated, but I cannot be what can bring Mason down to the bottom of a lake. I don't want to be cement shoes. I definitely need to speak to those three once they are free.
And with those thoughts abounding, we will draw our scene to a close. With those thoughts abounding, assailing, and bombarding, ricocheting off the inner corners of CJ's mind, we pull back from the cemetery's wall and watching CJ, another lost soul amongst the sea of lost souls. We pull back further and take in the scope of Westphalen as a whole, one singular city divided in two halves of a whole, each a city unto themselves for the most part, each holding true to some ideal that is there on the tip of everyone's tongue but has yet remained unsaid. The ideas of all in together, or freedom being most valuable. There's another message in it all that slides past most people's ability to grasp, but it too dances there on the tip of many tongues, some brave enough to say it, some brave enough to see it. And in this question, as CJ assails himself, is he, is she, are they brave enough to see it, to embrace it, to take it as their banner and reason to continue fighting, to dig deep and come up with whatever fate and his twisted sister karma might deliver them? I'd like to thank you for this scene, and I wish you a good night.